Hey, good morning. I'm Randy Banker. I'm the Fire Chief of the Janesville Fire Department, and this is Lieutenant Terry Sheridan with the Janesville Police Department. We called this press conference this morning to go over some key issues of our fatal fire from last night at 603 South Main. At approximately 8:03 last night, the Janesville Police Department and Fire Department were dispatched to the 603 South Main for reported house fire fully involved with the possibility of somebody still inside. The house itself is a 2.5-story balloon wood frame structure with what we believe is an apartment on the first floor and an apartment on the second floor. While en route to the incident, we were notified at least once, maybe twice, by our Rock 911 dispatch that there was the possibility of somebody trapped or inside the second floor. The initial call, like I said, came out at 2:03. The first Janesville police officer arrived at 8:03. First Janesville police officer arrived at 8:05. On arrival, that officer found a female on the second floor balcony attempting to make entry into the building. What we believe to do is try to make a rescue attempt. The police officer assisted her off the balcony. Just a moment or two later, our first Janesville Fire Department units arrived at 8:07, and on their arrival, they found the second floor completely engulfed in flames. The 3 front windows of the house had failed, and fire was ventilating out of those front windows at the same time. Fire crews attempted to knock as much of the fire down from the exterior of the building, and then at the same time, once that was completed, they made entry into the second floor of the apartment. Once they made entry, they found a significant amount of fire on the second floor, or inside the second floor. They started extinguishment and search at that time, and soon after is when they located the deceased male on the second floor apartment. They continued to fight fire throughout the second floor. Like I said, significant amount of fire and heat. They continued their searches of the rest of the structure at that time. There was a total of 3 other people at the scene that were checked by the paramedics and talked to by our investigators and police department. One of those subjects was a female, and she was transported to a local hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. The incident is, like I said, there's a lot of different aspects to it. So what we're doing is we're still trying to corral all the witnesses. There was a fair amount of witnesses, drivers, passers-by who called in. Different groups were trying to get all their statements. So we're working on that. We're working at right this point to securing warrants to get back into the house to complete the investigation. So we're standing by for that at this time. The deceased male was taken to the Dane County Medical Examiner's office. The autopsy is scheduled for 12:30 this afternoon. The investigation is a joint investigation with the Janesville Police and Fire Departments. We're being assisted by the Wisconsin State Fire Marshal's Office, ATF, and the Dane County Medical Examiner. As again, the fire is still under investigation. We're still trying to wrap all the different details together. Part of this press conference was there's a lot of information out there already on social media and other avenues. We're just trying to make sure to share that what we do and don't know at this time. And so we're working on trying to collect all that information so we can get you the accurate information that you need. Again, the fire is still under investigation. I'd like to thank the Janesville Police Department, Rock 911 Center, the Dane County Medical Examiner's Office, the Wisconsin State Fire Marshal, and the Milton Fire Department for their assistance. As we get more details today, hopefully we'll have more details today, and depending on what direction it goes, we may have another press conference, or we will just release a press release. If you have any questions or comments today, we prefer you direct them to myself or Lieutenant Terry Sheridan of the Janesville Police Department. That's all I have at this time, so unless you have any questions. Yeah?
Do you know how old the male was?
39.
Do you have any other ID for the guy?
No.
Do you know the relationship between the male and female? The female that went?
We're still trying to confirm that at this time.
Do you know the cause of the fire?
No, it's still under investigation. There's a significant amount of fire, so there's going to be a lot of work.
So you can even speculate suspicion?
No.
Is it being treated as a criminal matter?
Well, anytime you have a fire, we have to investigate it by state law, state statute, to determine the origin and cause. So that's important. And now the fact that we've had a deceased individual, it's going to be considered a criminal matter as an investigation. So proven different.
You mentioned talking to 3 other people at the scene. Does that mean there were only a total of 4 people in the house when the fire broke out?
That's part of the confusion. From what we're trying to gather is there was one person in the lower unit, and we believe there might have been another person in the second floor at the time of the fire. And then the female subject who arrived just prior to the police department.
When you say the female subject, she was the one that tried to get through the second floor.
Correct.
So she was not there when it started?
We don't believe so. Sorry,
We kind of heard rumors possible of a laptop being the cause of maybe an electrical fire.
That's been thrown out there. You know, that'll be a part of our investigation. That's why we don't say it's necessarily just a criminal investigation. When we do these investigations, we have to rule out everything we can, whether it's electrical or man-made or whatever. So, but that's something we've heard, and that'll be part of our investigation.
Just to clarify, what's the setup of the units?
It's a 2-story, it's basically a house, a 2-story wood frame house, and the second floor has an apartment, and the first floor has an apartment, from what we believe. The fire was on the second floor, and the deceased body was on the second floor.
Position of the body, where was it?
Where?
Where was it? Was
Second floor
watching
front.
TV or?
We're still trying to determine that. The second floor is significant amount of damage, so we're still trying to determine what they were doing.
Did the fire originate on the second floor?
Looks like it. Yes.
Did the male who was there, were they living there at the time?
I don't know if we've confirmed that.
Yeah, that's something we're still checking into. We believe so, but we haven't confirmed that yet.
Any other questions?
So Terry, you know the guy you just had, aren't releasing his name yet?
What was
So
the question?
did you ID him for yourselves yet, even though you're not releasing it to us?
We don't have a positive ID on him yet.
And we won't until after the autopsy.
Do you have an estimate of how much the damages were?
We haven't tallied that, but the second floor was a complete loss. Whether, we still have to get back into the house to determine how much damage there was, so no, we don't have a specific number yet.
The fact that you're saying it's such extensive damage, is this going to kind of be your investigation or slow things down a little bit than usual?
Because of the amount of fire?
Just trying to find the source or?
Well, unfortunately, when you had that amount of fire that we did, it does damage the house significantly to the building, so sometimes it can make it more difficult to determine what caused the fire.
How old was the house, do you guys know?
From I don't have the specific date of the construction of the home, but from the style of home and the construction of the home, it was probably built in the early 50s.
So will that possibly mean that this house is kind of done for it, half of it was engulfed?
I can't say that, not necessarily. Sometimes those older homes that are built with full dimensional lumber, sometimes they're stronger than the newer homes, so I can't say that it's a total loss at this time. We'll probably have a better idea on that once we get in there and reassess the whole building.
Do you know if it's still livable or not yet?
Nobody's living in there right now.
Chief, you mentioned there was a lot of public response. You're still waiting through. Where did the original call come from? How was that called? What was it called in?
I believe we had a total of 4.
Yeah, there were several calls to the 911 center that there was a fire.
Passers-by,
Yeah.
different people driving by.
All right.
So, but we're still working on those, collecting all those. Some of those people haven't returned our calls, so we're still working on them too. Yes.
Do you know how some people were able to get out of the home and this one person was unable to escape?
That's still part of the whole investigation. That's what we try to determine, is where they were when the fire started, what they were doing, how they got themselves out of the building. All that's all part of the investigation.
Working smoke detectors?
We're still investigating that portion. We don't believe the area where the fire was, that they were in operation, but we're still trying to determine that at this point.
If the detectors weren't operational, is there any penalty for the owner of the home?
that'll be something that we'll have to determine down the road. It is required to have smoke detectors, so. Yeah,
Do you know how many firefighters responded to this?
it was all our on-duty personnel. I don't have the exact number, but it was probably around 26 to maybe 29, and then we got assistance from the Milton Fire Department also. Because we had the fire, plus we had other calls going on in the community at that time. But at one point, the whole on-duty force of the Janesville Fire Department was there. Okay. Again, go ahead.
Do you know how many people lived there originally?
I don't think we have that exact number yet.
So who's in charge of the joint operation now, as far as the investigation?
Well, typically, when we do fire investigations, it's required state statute for the fire chief is responsible for the investigation. But what we do in Janesville is it's the police department, the fire department. We work side by side with the police department and their detectives. There's portions of the investigation that they'll do, and there's portions of the investigation that we'll do. And then we'll all come together and complete the investigation at that point.
But it's neither the death nor the cause becomes suspicious, it'll just continue.
Obviously, if there's any type of criminal part to this, it would be turned over, the police would take the lead on it. But right now, we're just at a fire investigation or origin and cause investigation with a death, and then we'll see where it plays out.
And the biggest part hampering your investigation right now is?
Right now, the biggest thing is getting all the warrants to get us back into the building, because there's so many different tenants, and we've identified who the owner of the building is. It's aren't investments. We just need to get the proper warrants so we can be back in there, get back into the building in the event we find stuff that we have the reason to be there, so. So right now, they're on hold. We have all our investigators out there, but we're on hold.
Do you know when the last fatal fire was in Janesville?
I do not have that date. I can get that for you if you need it. Okay. Anything else?
Are there any suspects in the fire yet, or?
Well, there's no, right now, again, we're in the preliminary stages of the fire investigation, so there's no suspects or, people of interest. We're still just trying to determine how the fire started, where the fire started, and then just get everybody's stories, so there's no suspects. Okay, what we'll do is, depending on the path of what this goes, we'll either send out an information on another press release, or press conference, or we'll just do a press release later in the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.